Welcome! Today we'll walk you through the process of making delicious chewy gummy candies right in your kitchen. So, gather your ingredients and let's get started on making some tasty homemade gummy candies. Let's go through the ingredients for our homemade gummy candy. First, you'll need half a cup of fruit juice. Choose a clear juice like apple, grape, or orange for the best results. Next, add 2 tablespoons of unflavored gelatin powder, which helps the gummy set. For sweetness, include a 1/4 cup of honey or corn syrup. You can also add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar if you like your gummies extra sweet. If you want a tangy twist, mix in 1/2 teaspoon of citric acid. To color your gummies, use a few drops of food coloring. Finally, prepare candy molds by lightly greasing them to make removing the gummies easier. That's it. These ingredients will come together to create delicious homemade gummy candies. To start preparing your molds for the gummy candy, first make sure you have your candy molds ready. Silicone molds work great because they're flexible and non-stick, but you can use any type of mold you have on hand. Begin by lightly greasing the inside of each mold. You can use a small amount of cooking spray or a bit of oil. If you're using cooking spray, hold the can about 6 to 8 inches away from the mold and give it a quick even spray. This will create a thin non-stick layer on the surface of the mold. If you're using oil, pour a small amount onto a paper towel or a clean cloth. Gently rub the oil into the mold surface, making sure to cover all the detail areas and edges. Be careful not to use too much oil, a little goes a long way. The goal here is to create a light, even coating that will help your gummies pop out easily once they're set. This step is crucial because it prevents the gummies from sticking to the molds, which can make them difficult to remove and could potentially damage their shape. Now let's move on to mixing the juice and gelatin. Start by grabbing a small saucepan and pour in your chosen fruit juice. You can use any clear juice like apple, grape, or orange. Make sure the juice is cold or at room temperature to start with. Next, take your unflavored gelatin powder and sprinkle it evenly over the surface of the juice. It's important to do this slowly and evenly to avoid clumping. As you sprinkle, you'll notice the gelatin beginning to absorb into the juice. Now let this mixture sit undisturbed for about 5 minutes. This process is called blooming. During blooming, the gelatin granules absorb the liquid and swell, which helps them dissolve more evenly when you heat the mixture later. This step is crucial because it ensures your gummies will have a smooth, even texture without any lumps. Be patient during this blooming phase. It might look a bit lumpy at first, but don't stir it yet. Allowing the gelatin to fully hydrate will make it easier to mix in and will give your gummies the perfect consistency. With the gelatin fully bloomed, it's time to heat the mixture. Place your saucepan on the stove and set the heat to medium. This will gently warm up the juice and gelatin mixture. As the mixture heats, use a spatula or wooden spoon to stir constantly. Keep the stirring steady to ensure that the gelatin and any added sugars dissolve evenly and thoroughly. You don't want any lumps or undissolved bits in your final candy. The heating process should take about 5 minutes. Be careful not to let the mixture come to a full boil. Boiling can affect the texture of your gummies, making them less smooth. Instead, you're aiming for a gentle simmer where the mixture is warm enough to dissolve everything, but not so hot that it starts bubbling vigorously. Now that your gelatin is fully dissolved and the mixture is smooth, it's time to add your sweeteners and color. Start by adding a 1/4 cup of honey or corn syrup to the mixture. This will give your gummies a nice sweetness and a bit of extra chewiness. If you prefer, you can also add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar for additional sweetness. Stir well to make sure the sweeteners are fully incorporated and the mixture is smooth. If you're looking to add a tangy flavor, this is the time to include 1/2 teaspoon of citric acid. This will give your gummies a bit of a sour kick, making them extra delicious. Stir the citric acid in thoroughly until it's well mixed. For a pop of color, now's the time to add a few drops of food coloring. Choose a color that you like or match it to the flavor of your fruit juice. Add a few drops at a time, stirring well after each addition until you achieve the color you want. Be sure to mix thoroughly to get an even color throughout the mixture. Now that your gummy mixture is ready, it's time to pour it into the molds. To make this process easier and less messy, you can use a dropper or a small pitcher. If you're using a dropper, Carefully fill it with the gummy mixture and squeeze it gently into each mold cavity. If you're using a pitcher, pour the mixture slowly and steadily, aiming for even distribution in each mold. Be careful not to overfill the molds. You want the mixture to be level with the top. If any bubbles form, you can gently tap the mold on the counter to help them rise to the surface and pop. Once all the molds are filled, it's time to chill the gummies. Place the filled molds in the refrigerator and let them set for at least 2 hours. This will allow the gummies to firm up properly. You can leave them in the fridge a bit longer if needed. They should be completely set and firm to the touch when they're ready. With your gummies fully set and firm, it's time to unmold them. Gently pop each gummy out of the mold. If you used silicone molds, they should come out quite easily. If they're a bit stubborn, you can gently press on the backside of the mold to help them release. Take care not to squeeze or bend the mold too much to avoid damaging the gummies. Once all the gummies are removed, it's important to store them properly to keep them fresh. Place the gummies in an airtight container. You can store them at room temperature if your environment is cool and dry, or keep them in the refrigerator if you prefer. For the best texture and flavor, try to consume the gummies within 2 weeks. Over time, they may become a bit stickier or lose some of their vibrant flavor. And lastly, here are some tips to perfect your recipe. First, for texture adjustments. If you like your gummies to be firmer or chewier, you can tweak the amount of gelatin you use. Adding more gelatin will make the gummies firmer and give them a chewier texture. Experiment a little to find your ideal consistency. Next, consider flavor variations. You can play around with different fruit juices to create unique flavors. Adding a splash of fruit extract can also boost the flavor profile of your gummies. Just a few drops can make a big difference in taste. When it comes to molds, silicone molds are highly recommended. They make it much easier to remove the gummies without breaking them. You can find a variety of silicone molds in different shapes and sizes online or at baking supply stores, which can add a fun touch to your candies. Remember to avoid boiling the mixture. Heating it too much can affect the texture and make your gummies less smooth. Keep the heat low and gentle to ensure the best results. With these tips in mind, you'll be able to enjoy delicious homemade gummy candies. Have fun experimenting and enjoy your tasty treats.